How'd the babysitting come in? Where did that come from?
Yeah, I'm not a mom. And babies are super interesting because if you think of them from a research perspective, they are a very good blank canvas to be able to study actually how the microbiome is impacting human health because there's not a lot of noise. And I was working with an amazing scientist named Dr. Maureen Grower, and she already had this incredible data set. So from preterm birth, if a baby is born early, till 4 years of age, we were able to look and see how shifts in the type of bacterial species impacted health outcomes. So within that, I was hyper curious about what we can control. And what I kept asking the question of the data, like, how do we get there in terms of a healthier human? The research pointed me in the direction of giving breast milk for longer. And I was like, okay, like, what's preventing that from actually happening? And in the States, maybe you're familiar, but like women don't even have mandated maternity leave. So I wrote my first grant and began listening to women during this experience of giving birth and what their barrier to breastfeeding was. And they kept describing over and over, like, if I give a bottle in the hospital or when I have to go back to work, my baby is getting used to that shape, that feel, that flow. And sort of in that moment, I had a hypothesis as I'm looking at this bottle nipple. I'm like, this doesn't look like a lactating breast. And then I started delving into, okay, well, if it's preventing them from coming back to breast because it's so different, the baby gets used to one or the other, doesn't want to switch in between, what can we use with modern technology to make it more like a breast? So the natural nipple began from me 3D scanning lactating breasts, and another scientist had already begun looking at actual flow rate, like milk transfer from breast to baby. And this was all while I was still in the end of my PhD program, and I was like, okay, surely this must have been done. Someone must have done this, right? And I like sat on the idea for 6 months. And then when I saw from this other scientist that current bottle nipples were not actually mimicking how breast flows for the baby's age, I was like, whoa, we need to do this. We need to make it easier for a woman to breastfeed.